Good evening to you. Viewers of Abhinaya Bharati. Somebody should respond to me. Viewers of Abhinaya Bharati, Professor V.T. Naik, Dr. Arvind Kulkarni, ladies and gentlemen. To begin with, I thank the organizers, especially Dr. V.T. Naik and Dr. Arvind Kulkarni for giving me an opportunity to speak on and about A Doll's House by Henrik Ibsen, an important, very significant Norwegian playwright who made a tremendous influence on all modern major writers, the playwrights across the globe, including the European playwrights. A Doll's House has also made its deep impact on Indian playwrights, including Kannada playwrights. Our own playwright Sriranga, who came under the influence of G.B. Shaw, also has come under the also came under the influence of Ibsen in some sense. So I will make an attempt to read this play as a feminist text. I don't have to speak more about feminism because I have only 30 minutes of time at my disposal. I will directly go to the play and try to consider this play from the feministic perspective. Henrik Ibsen was and is an important playwright in the world. He was the one who started what we call realism in theatre, or realism on theatre. Ibsen is primarily opposed to patriarchal constructs. He was opposed to patriarchy, and he opposed what we call patriarchal constructs. Nora, who is a protagonist of the play, an important character in the play, you can call her a heroine. The play doesn't have a hero, in fact. If at all you call somebody a hero, it's Nora herself. It's a female dominating play. Nora is a leading character in the play, A Doll's House. And the title of the play is very symbolic, it's highly symbolic. So if time permits, I will talk about the symbols used in the play. And Nora is symbolic of the feminine spirit and identity, which was apparently smothered, destroyed by male chauvinism. Some people pronounce it as chauvinism, male dominance. I think for a long it has been centuries that men and women have been talking about male dominance or patriarchy and male constructs or patriarchal constructs and so on. That husband is more important than A husband is more important than a wife is also what you call patriarchal construct. And what a husband is supposed to do and what a wife is supposed to do is also a construction. That somebody is superior and somebody is inferior is also a construction. And he was against such constructions, Ibsen. And it was unthinkable, at the time when he was writing his plays. And he was very, very revolutionary in his life and also in his plays. And domesticity, subservience to one's husband, childbearing, and rearing was synonymous with woman at that time. Even today, these are the fundamental duties that a woman has to perform. The men who rebel against patriarchy will go for a sort of compromise with the patriarchy at the end of the day. Not just in Indian society. Let us not think that Indians are very, very conservative. I think all societies are basically patriarchal in nature and are very rigid and highly conservative. Even British society, European society is also not very liberal. Sometimes Indian society is quite liberal. If you go to tribes and if you go to certain areas, they enjoy more freedom than what the educated women do in the cities. Okay, now Nora's transformation, and the play is about her transformation. It's a big transformation in the life of Nora. How this transformation comes about, we will talk later. That is the plot of the play. So Nora's transformation from a doll wife to a conscious, religious, and social rebel is the main theme of the play. How does Nora transform herself from a doll wife to a conscious, religious, and a social rebel? She becomes a rebel at the end of the day, at the end of the play. In the beginning of the play, she is a doll. Helmer, who is her husband, calls her, "You are my skylark, you are my squirrel, you are my doll." She is a doll wife for Helmer, her husband, and a doll daughter for her father. And of course, she rebels in a big way against patriarchy and patriarchal constructions in the play. A doll's house. It is a doll's house. At the end, she realizes that she's not just a doll. She's a human being. She has she has her own identity, and she can do things which men cannot do. I have my own personality. I have my own conviction. I have my own conscience. I'm not a doll. I'm a human being. There is a big difference between a doll and a human being. Anybody can play with a doll. Yes, you play with a doll. You can, father plays with a doll, and brothers play with a doll, and husbands too play with a doll. Who is a doll? Woman is a doll. And this transformation is an important event that happens in the play, A Doll's House. It is in the beginning it's a doll's house. At the end, it's no longer a doll's house. And Henrik Ibsen, an important European playwright, very significant playwright. We must understand why he becomes very important. If you go with the tradition, if you just say the things that have been said for centuries, you cannot make your presence felt as a writer. Only when you say things which have not been said in the history, and when you write something which has not been written about, which has not been written, then only you become an important writer. Why Shakespeare becomes an important writer, why Kuvempu or Bendre become important writers? Because they have said something which has not been so far said so powerfully. So Ibsen protests against the despicable attitude of men. He basically protested against men, the ways of men, or male chauvinism, and male constructions, patriarchal constructions, patriarchal notions, etc. And the theme of the play is the assertion of one's identity and liberation of the individual. And Nora is not happy. Nora is not happy when she is treated as a doll. I am no longer a doll. Up to a certain level, yes, it's fine. I can be a doll. But should I be a doll from my birth till my death? No. So in the initial stages of her life, Nora was a mere doll in the hands of a Helmer. So in just 2-3 minutes, I will give you the plot of the play. So Nora has been married for 8 years. 8 years. So she has lived with Helmer for 8 years. 7 years have passed. They are in the 8th year of their marriage. And for 7 years, what did she do? She only listened to her husband. She did what she was told to do. And till she got married, she listened to her father. She was her father's doll. Father played with her and said one day, get married to Helmer. She was married to Helmer. And for 7 years, she listened to him. She lived with him. And she became a doll. Every house has a doll. Every house is a doll. I'm no exception. Because it's a doll's house for every wife. Given a chance, given an opportunity, I think 99% of wives in all societies all over the world say the same thing, that it's a dollhouse. It does not mean that we men ill-treat them, but we do not recognize their identity. That is the whole thing. That is the whole problem. And it's very difficult for a man to identify, to recognize the identity of his wife. Okay, so what happens is, for almost 7 years, 8 years, they lived together, and she was at the receiving end, and Helmer was at the giving end, and she was at the receiving end, and it went out very well. So, as long as wives don't question, everything is fine at home, And when they begin to question, problems crop up. And, when the male ego is hurt, then there will be a fight, and there will be fighting, and there will be war, Then, I don't say that they get separated and divorced, which is very, very, very difficult in an Indian context. So what happens is, one day Helmer falls ill. He falls sick, and doctors attending on him, tell Nora to take him quickly to Italy for treatment. She doesn't have money to take her husband to Italy for treatment. She is in need of money. She is in dire need of money. She is in search of somebody, some money lender who can help her out. Then she finds one, and she borrows money. It's a loan, and the loaner, is Krogstad, and who is very notorious and very ambitious, and he loans her, he gives her money, and she takes money, and he says, I need a witness, the signature of a witness. And what she does, in her, in a hurry to help her husband, in her attempt to help her husband, to take her husband to Italy for treatment, she forces the signature of her father because she wanted money by hook or crook, and she takes money from the money lender and and goes to Italy for treatment, and she helps her husband to recover quickly because he was taken to hospital in time and he was given correct treatment, proper treatment, and they come back and they're very happy living together. And now she has to repay the loan. It's such a big sum, and she finds it extremely difficult to repay the loan without bringing this to the notice of her husband. But her maid in the family, Stina, she knows the whole story. And one day she tells, why can't you tell this to your husband? Why do you hide it? And she says, I can't tell this to my husband and he will feel very bad about it because I have forged the signature of my father. He may not like it. He may not appreciate it. Then it so happens, and when she is not able to repay, this loaner, who is, writes a letter to her husband, Helmer, and he reveals everything to Helmer. And Helmer comes to know that his wife Nora has borrowed money from a money lender and he does not know the purpose. Then he abuses her. He takes her to task. Then there is a fight, and she never tells him the reason why she borrowed the money. And he accuses her. Then he also doubts her chastity, loyalty. It so happens in the play that he comes to know that, yes, my Nora has borrowed money from the money lender only to help him out, to take him to Italy for treatment. And when he learns the truth, when truth dawns upon him, it was too late. It was too late. And any realization which comes late has no meaning at all. If you realize something before it is too late, then you are saved. But if you realize when it is late and very late, there is no point in the realization. Okay, so you should realize before you fight. You declare a war, and when you declare a war, fight a war, and you lose a war, if you realize, what is the use of it? So this is an important scene in the play. Yes, he realizes his mistake, but Helmer fails to acknowledge her individuality. This is the problem. That's what she tells at the end of the play. She decides to leave her husband, her children, and go away. Where she goes, nobody knows. And why does she take such a step? Because Helmer does not acknowledge her identity. He does not respect and recognize her identity. This is the problem with a large number of men in any society. But Nora serves her husband, Helma, as his mouthpiece, sends a mind of her own. And she does not think that she has a mind of her own. This is very important. Every man should have his mind of own. Similarly, every woman should also have a mind of her own. But we do not allow our wives to speak. So she becomes only her mouthpiece. Visit any household, wife will repeat what husband says. She cannot contradict. She cannot say no to her husband. She cannot oppose. Okay. If you are democratic, you must allow your partner to disagree with you. She becomes only his mouthpiece. And he addresses his wife Nora as Skylark many a time, more than 50 times. Squirrel. Remember, both Skylark and Squirrel are incapable of flight. You know, it's a doll. Doll cannot fly. Doll cannot move. You have to move doll, but doll cannot move on its own accord. It doesn't have the mind. It doesn't have a personality. It doesn't have an identity. It's a doll's house. It's a prison. It's a prison. And who is a jailer here? Husband himself is a jailer. Okay. And in the father was a jailer for some years. Brothers are also jailers. Husband is a jailer and son is a jailer. So she will have to serve a life imprisonment. For every woman, she serves life imprisonment. There is no escape from it. So they are incapable of flight. And her relationship, Nora's relationship with Helmer, revolves around love. But in reality, it is bereft of love. There is no love between husband and wife. Okay. So you can love somebody only when you recognize her or his personality. When a lot of people talk about love, and I wonder whether they really love, because you love only when you recognize somebody's personality, individuality. Okay, and you will have to respect the self. You have to respect the self, the other. And he is a very, very, very domineering husband. Dominating husband. And he responds, negligently when Nora's act of forging her father's signature, dawns on him. He must have asked her, "Yes, Nora, you borrowed a loan from a man who has bad reputation. Please let me know why. What are the reasons? Why you thought you should borrow money from a man who had no reputation in the society?" He didn't ask, because he didn't think that he had to ask his wife to give explanation. And he fails to realize Nora's sacrifice and her incredible love for him. She took the greatest personal risk to save the life of her husband, and who never understands this. But Nora conceals her act of, obtaining a loan from Krogstad for 7 years, because there was absolutely no room for communication between them. Why? It's not that Nora didn't want to reveal this to her husband. It's not that she didn't want to tell her husband that she had to borrow money from the moneylender who had bad reputation, because she didn't reveal to him, because she didn't get the scope. She didn't have the freedom to tell her husband what really happened. So if you give absolute freedom to your wife, she will say everything that comes to her mind. Then Nora says, when she realizes that this is not the man she can live with, a man who can doubt my loyalty, my sincerity, my chastity, my commitment, is certainly not the right man to live with. She comes to this realization. And why should I live with a man who does not understand how I love him. So she says, we have been married now 8 years. We have been married now 8 years. Does it not occur to you that this is the first time we two, you and I, husband and wife, have had a serious conversation? For 7 years, no conversation at all. And today we have had a serious conversation, but the implication is very terrible. It's very terrible because I have learned that you don't love me at all. And he accuses her of deceit and treachery. And, I remember Othello and Desdemona. I don't have time to talk about Desdemona and Othello. I also remember Antigone of Sophocles, Creon and Antigone. Instead of smothering, her, instead of soothing her perturbed self, he loathes her, unmindful of the fact that she forged the signature to save his life. He should have appreciated her. Yes, my dear wife, you did the right thing. I'm grateful to you. You saved my life. But he didn't say like that. And the male ego inferiorizes the female self. This is the problem between husband and wife. Husband has what you call the male ego, and the male ego always tries to create a sort of inferiority complex in his wife. And now the educated wife, the educated woman, liberated woman, the woman who has studied feminism, no longer tolerates this. And Helmer has made a doll out of Nora. This is what we have done. Yeah? You are my sweet baby. Why? Why should be a baby? She's a woman. Your daughter can be your baby, not your wife. My sweet baby, my darling, my skylark, my cuckoo, my nightingale, my squirrel, my doll. Okay, then what do? You imprison her. You put her in a cage. She's a caged, nightingale. And Nora's metamorphosis from a doll to an enterprising woman is very important. I think I must talk about it. This transformation. No, she's no longer a doll to be played with. She is a woman, a responsible woman. Okay? Responsible not to her husband and children alone, responsible to herself, responsible to her feelings, responsible to her identity. Okay? And Nora also exposed him as a cat. She proves him to be a cat. Cat means a man who behaves dishonoringly towards a woman. A man who behaves very badly with a woman is stupid, and vice versa too. That the moment Helmer, regains his patronizing attitude towards Nora, his doll is, metaphorically dead. When he realizes that yes, it's his mistake, it's my mistake. I should have, carefully handled my wife. But when he realizes this, it is too late, and his so-called doll is metaphorically dead. She is metaphorically dead. Doll is dead. Nora died several deaths before Helmer could read Krogstad's, incriminating letters. So finally, Nora liberates herself from the muddles of patriarchy to assert her identity. She thinks, no, he is not the right man to live with. I must seek my own identity. I don't want to I don't want to live with this man at all. So all the 8 years, she was my pride, he says. She was my pride, my joy, a hypocrite, a liar, worse, a criminal. A woman need not be a man's pride, but it is very unfortunate that a woman is man's pride. I have married, I have a beautiful wife. What do I mean? Do I love her? No, I have a beautiful wife means my wife is my pride. She has added to my social prestige. I have a tall wife. I have a fair wife. I have a rich wife. Okay, I have, my wife is like this and that. But you have a wife to love. That is missing here. And she had been his pride and joy, not his love. Joy. My wife should give me joy. That's very, very, very unfortunate. Very, very bad. Why? You can have joy elsewhere through other means also. A wife is more than a commodity. She's not meant to give only joy and pride, love, which is missing. So, but no man would sacrifice his honor for one he loves. At the end of the play, Nora tells him, you could have excused me. You could have treated me well. And why did you do like that? Why you accused me? Then look at the answer he gives. But no man would sacrifice his honor for the one he loves. A man cannot sacrifice his honor for his wife. Then look at her answer. It is a thing. Honor is a thing. Hundreds and hundreds of women have done it. If husbands are safe because there are wives to protect. And if wives are in trouble, I'm sure that husbands may not help them. A wife tries to safeguard and protect the prestige of the family and her husband. For example, if a husband derails, a wife can tolerate and accept. If a wife derails, husband will not. And he will declare to the whole world that yes, my wife has betrayed me. But many husbands betray their husbands and their wives, and they don't complain. Okay, this play it should make men, especially men, introspect. So Nora is aware of the fallacy of her marriage, and at the end, I have come to the last part of my presentation because it's already time is up. I have taken 30 minutes. I will take another 5 minutes to conclude my presentation today. So at the end, Nora decides to leave the house, to go away, to seek her destiny and to seek her fortune, and she doesn't know where to go. Certainly not to her father, not to her brother or brothers or relatives. She will go elsewhere. She will go elsewhere. She wants to go elsewhere because she wants to realize the spirit in her, the woman in her, and the potentiality in her. And lead the life that she really wants to lead. And this is one of her last speeches. She tells her husband, listen, Torvald, I have heard that when a wife deserts her husband's house, just as I'm doing, then the law frees him from all responsibility. Now you don't have to worry about your wife. You will have freedom. And law frees you from all responsibility. In any case, I am freeing you from being responsible. Don't feel yourself bad any more than I will. There has to be absolute freedom for us both. Here, take your ring back and give me mine. She said. She's very clear, very, very clear, absolutely clear in her attitude, approach, and also conscience. Now, when we got married, we took an oath that we would never depart till we die. Now I am going away from you, and I am giving you freedom, and I will take my freedom. I give you freedom, I give you your freedom, and I will take my freedom. I shall not ask you to give my freedom. Who are you to give me my freedom? I take my freedom, I will go. And you are free. You are free. You don't have to feel responsible. No responsibility at all. And no law will force you to be responsible now. And I too have my freedom. And now we exchanged the rings when we got married. Let us exchange the rings again. I will take your ring back and give me mine. And he says, that too? And she says, yes, that too. Then he says, over, all over, Nora, won't you ever think about me? I feel very bad. I felt very bad when I read the last scene of the play, especially the last few dialogues. A husband and a wife, or a man and woman who lived for 7 years are now departing, and she cannot come back. And he asks her, won't you think about me when you leave me? Won't you think about me? Won't you ever think about me? Look at her answer. I'm sure I shall think of you often. I shall think of you often. And about the children and the household, I do think about you and think about you often, about children and about the household. Then he asks one more question. Can I ever be more than a stranger to you? He says, he tells her, all right, Nora, can I write a letter to you? No, don't write to me. Can I try to contact you? No, don't contact me. Can I give you some money? I don't take presentation from strangers. Am I a stranger to you? He asks, yes, you are a stranger to me. You are a stranger to me, and I don't want to accept gifts from strangers. Then he asks, can I never be more than a stranger to you? Then that our living together could be a true marriage. And he asks her, there is no chance of coming back. There is no possibility of coming back. In fact, the play ends with some sort of happy note. We cannot deny the possibilities of Nora coming back to him. And she says that our living together could be a true marriage. She explains what a true marriage is. It's not just sharing the bed. It's not just eating together and merely living together. It's about respecting each other. It's about realizing each other's potentiality. It is about realizing each other's identity and individuality. It's not that I say at the end of the day, at the end I would say that it's not that only men have to identify women's identity and women's individuality. Women should also identify men's identity and men's individuality, because this is a 100-year-old play. Things have changed drastically after this play was written. During the last 120-30 years, in all societies across the globe, things have changed very drastically. And men, it's not that only men ill-treat women and men harass women too harass men. There are wives who harass their husbands. We cannot deny. But having said this, I would say that men are more guilty than women, because after all said and done, it's patriarchy. We have our own rule, man's rule. Okay, as long as man exercises all important powers, women have to suffer. So at the end of the play, she says, yes, there is. It's possible. It's possible only when you change and I change too. Both of us have to undergo metamorphosis. We have to transform completely. The paradigm shift has to take place between uh, um, in our lives. Then only it's possible. It is possible, as I said, only when we realize each other. And she is not prepared for a compromise at all. And this play, A Doll's House, has made tremendous influence on DCP Shaw's Candida. And at the end of the play, in Candida, at the end of the play, she does not go away. She cannot go away with the Marchbank, whom she loves. She stays back. She takes the decision to live with her husband. She is ready for a compromise. So Nora is not ready for a compromise, but Candida is ready for a compromise. And in Sophocles' play, Antigone is not ready for compromise. But in Shakespeare's play, Desdemona is also, in some sense, she is ready for compromise. She struggles with her, she bargains with her husband. Please allow me to live for a day, for 1 hour, for 1 minute, or while I say prayer. And she surrenders herself to her husband. Come on, okay, helpless. You kill me, okay? You kill me. She surrenders herself, and this man kills her. And when he kills her, he realizes. He realizes. Then he says, I kissed thee before I killed thee. Upon thy kiss I fall and die. He stabs himself and dies at the end of the play. Like, Othello. Yes, Othello. And Helmer realizes only when he has lost his wife. And Moral in the play Candida also realizes his mistake, his folly, only after his wife, in some sense, has deserted him. And Creon in Antigone also realizes when it is too late. And so what is important is you must realize before it is too late. Shakespeare rightly said, what is done cannot be undone. Once you hurt, once you fire, once you release an arrow, bana bitta mele, then you cannot have control over it. So a play like A Doll's House or Othello or Antigone or Candida should make us more responsible as men and also as women. I think I must thank Professor V.T. Naik, a very senior professor of English, and Dr. Arvind Kulkarni and other members of Abhinaya Bharati for giving me an opportunity. This is a wonderful initiative, and they have arranged a lot of talks by eminent men on theatre, Indian and Western. I'm sure that the viewers have been greatly benefited by the talks delivered by eminent men till today. So with this, I conclude my presentation, and I draw your attention to the very horrible, terrible pandemic that has affected us, Corona-19, and people are dying everywhere. You please take care of yourselves and take care of your relatives, and stay at home and maintain COVID protocol. That's it. And let us hope that this pandemic, this Satan, will spare us and will go never to come back. We have lost a lot of people, and there is no single house in India which has not lost its member. A lot of people, academicians, poets, writers, politicians, Swamijis, and common and ordinary men and women, lot of people we have lost. I don't know after 1 year how many of us will be alive and how many of us will be no more. But let us let us have faith in us, and let us have faith in God, and let us have faith in nature that things will improve very soon, and all of us will be very happy, and we will be alive to see each other and talk to each other for so many years to come. Thank you so much. Take care of yourselves.